In this video, I will be showing you 10 things that pros do that you do not. Now, last time I did this video, it was my most viewed video on this channel, and at the time of this recording, it just hit 1 million views. That is absolutely insane, and I'm so thankful that that happened, so I thought that I would give y'all a part 2 to this video, essentially making it again, but with different tips. The first of which being that pros do not melee windows hardly ever. Let's say that I want to rappel to this window on Cocktail, and I want to get it open so I can start putting pressure on the objective. What a pro player doesn't do is just straight melee the window 3 times to open it. That exposes you to the window. If they have a C4, they're going to C4 you off that window, or they're just going to pre-fire you. Instead, what all pros do is before they even rappel on the window, they just immediately shoot it down just like this. If you watch a single Pro League game, you'll see them literally just opening all of the windows out of spawn, especially if they're playing somebody like Nomad who can watch the jump outs of both the door and the windows and they don't really have to worry about it. Most of them just shoot the windows down and then they rappel later. Optionally as well, what they'll do is they'll actually be on rappel and they'll shoot the window on rappel. This completely takes away any risk of anybody being able to nitro you or pre-fire you when you open the window, taking away any sort of risk involved with opening a barricade. With this in mind, you can open up windows a lot safer now, but that was just 1 out of 10 things pros do that you don't. And these get increasingly crazier as the video goes on, so make sure you stick to the end. The second of which being that pros get on cameras the very second the prep phase ends on defense. A lot of the times if you're attacking, the first thing you do when you'll spawn in is shoot the default camera next to you. But if a defender is on that camera, based off of you shooting that camera, they know that you spawned there. For most maps, where you spawn is usually where you're going to push. So if you're a good defender and you get on cams the second the prep phase ends and you know which cameras they're shooting, typically you're going to know where they're going to be pushing from. Not only is this beneficial for you so you know how to set up the site, if some of the site setup still is able to be set up, but also it's useful if you're a good teammate and you tell your roamers, hey, they're pushing from here, so now your roamers know where to go and where to waste time. If you're the roamer, that's even better. Now you know where to sit, you know where to rat, and you know where to shoot drones and waste time too. It's such a simple thing that requires absolutely zero skill that everybody could be doing, that gives you a huge advantage on defense if you're doing it, and every single pro team does it because they know it's a huge advantage. So you need to be taking advantage of this advantage as much as humanly possible. Something else pros do a lot of recently is play sends. Because of the major buffs to sends, this does make sense. So I'm going to show you something that pro players do with sends that a lot of people don't do. And that is that when they have their sends lineups and they're throwing them early in the round, they make sure to deactivate their sends walls before they throw them. If I have some crazy sends lineups, I need to make sure that my senses are deactivated. That way, whenever I throw my sends walls in, I'm not wasting smokes when I don't plan on using them until way later. The ability to save your sends walls until you really need them is a huge buff to sends. Now, as you can see in the background, I just threw down 4 sends walls. The first sends wall makes it to where if you want to be able to push the plat breach onto red stairs, you can cover all of your CC and you can just push red straight up. I would not have been able to do that because I wouldn't have had the time to do it if these were activated when I threw them in initially. In case you're curious, this is what the construction one looked like. It essentially covers the Logi rotate and part of the head holes if you want to be able to push construction. This next one just cuts the master site in half, allowing you to plant a lot easier or hop in the window, with the final sends wall making it to where you can play highway without worrying about your CC window. These are very useful and you wouldn't have half the time to be able to use them if you had had them activated when you threw them. So make sure that every single time you're deploying a sends wall, you're deploying it deactivated so that you can activate it whenever you actually need to. But for now, let's move on to Chalet, because I want to talk to you about something that pros do that I know you don't, which is applying ghost pressure. If you don't know what applying ghost pressure is, it's essentially opening up things. Whether you're on attack or defense, honestly, it doesn't matter. Just for the sake of literally opening them to scare defenders that you might be there. For example, if I want to push library, opening up my game's window is beneficial for me. That's because a lot of defenders will open this hatch and they'll sit and watch your double window from below. But if you just open up this double window, they're going to be a lot more scared to do that, and you're less likely to have to worry about that hatch. But that's the thing, you don't even have to push the window. You can just open it and leave. That's why it's called ghost pressure, because you're not actually using it. It's kind of like a ghost is there and it's scaring them away, because it's not about the fact that you're going to push it, it's about the fact that you could push it. It's about the potential for an angle to be held, or the potential for a push. And that alone, even if you don't plan on pushing these windows, will scare people away from positions that you don't want them to be in. This makes it a lot easier for you to push places because you're essentially just controlling the map and where people go. And it's half the reason why people will just start opening up random windows on the attack. Not really because they're going to look through them, but if I'm an attacker and I open up both of these windows, chances are if anybody is in Ivy Hall, they're going to leave and just play behind piano, because I could be on either one of these windows, completely pinching them from being able to leave Ivy Hall, even if I'm not actually really there. It's just the potential of me being there that completely controls people from playing in certain positions, and that is what ghost pressure is. It's really not that complicated. Just start opening stuff a bunch. As an attacker, it's always better to have more things open than closed, even if it's rotates, vert, or opening things up like barricades. You get the idea. Just having pressure all around you, at least that you know about, can get you a lot of free kills and gain you a lot of map control in the process. The fifth thing that R6 pros do that you don't is knowing when to rat. There are some times where it's better to sit sight, hold angles, and play passive, and just play the game in a safe way. This is especially good if you're down in rounds and you just need to actually secure a round before you lose the game. But there are some times where ratting is actually the best option. Like sitting under a window and just knifing people who walk in. Or playing cav and sitting under a table. These might seem like throw picks, but there's actually a very good way to know when to do this, and a very effective way at that. You want to be ratting if people are playing fast. If you're defending and you're going against a team who is not droning themselves in, they're literally just running in with Ash and they're just mowing you and your team down, just playing as fast as possible, the best thing to do isn't running traps, it's not bunkering sight, and it's not matching their aggression. It is literally just ratting. The thing about teams that do this is that they aren't droning. And if they are droning, it's very minimally because they're trying to get a fast-paced rush. So if you rat in really unconventional corners, if you prone in weird places, or if you just stand in unorthodox angles that they don't expect that aren't default, you're bound to catch a lot of people by surprise. Also, if people are running in, chances are they have a high ego and they think they're better than you. So when you kill them to really ratty angles, they're going to get in their own head because of their own ego, and they're going to be like, this guy's such a rat, I'm so much better than him. And because they feel like they need to prove themselves to you by beating you, they're going to just start ego swinging even more, and then you can just start ratting and baiting even more. And it's a cycle that only makes it to where it's easier for you to defend, because players' egos cannot handle somebody who's just ratting. So knowing when to rat, especially against aggressive teams, is something that pros do a lot that you really should start doing, especially if you know that you're worse than your enemy. Now in this video, we've talked about nothing but what Pro League players do that you don't do. So let's talk about something that Pro League players don't do that you do, and that is quick peeking. Now, why don't Pro League players quick peek? Well, first of all, quick peeking is only something you do for information. If I want to know if somebody's holding this doorway to kill me on this doorway, I'm going to peek right and unpeek to quickly get a little bit of information to know if he's there, so I can then crouch and repeek and kill him. That is the entire point of a quick peek. It's for information. Typically, Pro League players use their drones, so they don't need that information. If I can just drone this and figure out where the guy is, I don't need to quick peek. I can just come in here and pre-fire him. But it goes even deeper than that. Even if they don't have information on the guy, most Pro League players will literally just wide swing things, checking every angle like this, and then they'll just walk at places. It almost looks bot-like, but I'll explain why it's actually good. If you take a look at Herds, he is on Team Furia, and 2 years ago, he was the most proficient fragger in Rainbow Six Siege the entire year, dropping the most amount of kills in the season. And he did not quick peek more than 5 times for an entire year. And most Latin American players like Herds don't really quick peek ever. All you have to do is individually clear angles like this. If I know where all of the common angles are, like this doorway, all I have to do is pre-fire it, then check this angle, pre-fire it, then check this angle, pre-fire it, then pre-fire this angle, and then I'm in. Not once did I have to quick peek it, then pre-fire it, quick peek it, quick peek it, quick peek it, quick peek it. For one, quick peeking makes a lot of noise. Whereas if you just ADS and leaned and alt walked everywhere with the reaction time to shoot people, it wouldn't make any noise. Not only this, but a good defender that sees you quick peeking them is just going to pre-fire you. So that when you go to quick peek again, your head just falls into their pre-fire and you die. So if you are going to quick peek and you see that somebody saw you quick peek, at least make sure to crouch and then re-peek so you don't get your head taken off. But why even risk it when all you have to do is swing and pre-fire it? Well, that's the question that every Pro League player has been asking themselves, and why most of them don't quick peek except for some North American gunners. Really, you shouldn't even have to be pre-firing. You should just have drones or information on people so you don't need to quick peek. While I have you upstairs though, I want to go over another thing that Pro League players do that a lot of people do not do, and that is shooting the glass off of windows. As you can see, if you put 5 bullets of any gun into a barricade, you can actually get all of the glass off of that barricade while keeping the barricade intact, making it to where they can't see you. What is the benefit of breaking the glass on a window, you might ask? Well, let's take this window for example. This window still has the glass on it. As you can see, there's no glass debris right here. If someone were to rappel on this window, it would be a lot quieter and I wouldn't be able to hear it as well, especially compared to if I were to break the glass off of the window. That layer of glass on the window actually muffles sound quite a bit. So breaking the glass on windows makes it to where you can hear people rappelling a lot easier, allowing you to go for a nitro kill or just knowing when they're actually on the window a lot sooner. You have to make sure though that you put the bullets in 5 different spots to break the glass, because if you try to break the glass without doing that, you're just going to end up breaking the actual barricade, which is going to give them a free angle into the objective from outside. So you don't want to do that. Just shoot 5 bullets randomly into the barricade, break the glass, and you should be able to hear people a lot better without them being able to see you. Now that one might have been pretty obvious, and if you knew that one, that's fair. But this next one, I think a lot of people know, but they just choose not to implement. But pros do implement it, and that is abusing shields. Now, if you've looked at the bans of your ranked games for the past month, obviously Blackbeard is banned every single round, or at least pretty close to it. You might be thinking that Blackbeard in terms of shields is a special case. He has an assault rifle he can pull out to kill people with frag grenades he can throw behind the shield. And that's fair. Blackbeard is probably the strongest shield operator in the game right now. But just because shields got nerfed doesn't mean that they're not still good. If you look at any Pro League game right now, even if Blackbeard is banned, they're playing Monty or they're playing Blitz. The only thing you really can't do with shields right now after the nerf is take one-on-one melee fights. Because every defender has melee priority over shields now. If you try to melee fight somebody and they melee you first, you're just going to lose. But if you have a team behind you, or if maybe you're using utility to close that distance for an ADS, then shields are literally just as powerful. You're able to use utility behind the shield, reload behind the shield, sprint with the shield in front of your face, and so much more. So shields still are really, really good. And every single pro team right now, even if Blackbeard is banned, is abusing at least one shield every round. Shields are being abused so much right now that Clash is at an all-time high for pick rate just to counter the shields in case teams bring them. So if pros are abusing shields this much on attack, you should try to do it in ranked. Something else that pros do that you don't is abusing the differences of sounds on whatever material you're walking on. Really quickly, I'm going to turn my volume all the way up to 100 just so you can hear what I'm talking about. If you don't know, depending on what you're stepping on, it actually makes a different sound. So walking on concrete is a completely different sound than walking on wood. As you can see, walking on wood is more echoey, it's more of a deep sound, whereas walking on concrete is less echoey, and they have much more lighter sound. There's an even bigger difference when you go from, like, concrete to carpet. Carpet's a much more muffled and bassy sound, whereas concrete, again, is lighter, and wood is much more echoey. If you can't really tell the difference between them, you'll learn it over time if you go into a custom game and really try to notice the differences. But Pro League players use this to their advantage all of the time. Even if you watch Jinxie do a 1v1 on Top Floor Oregon, he'll sit in this bolo corner with a shotgun, and he'll wait for the sound of people leaving the carpet to get on the concrete, and the second he hears the difference of sound, he'll swing. Because he knows if anybody's on the concrete, they're within 1 pump distance, which can get him a free kill that's completely unshallowable the entire game. So if all of Pro League is using it, and so is Jinxie, you probably should be too. Now, the final thing that Pro League players do that you don't is changing their aspect ratio from 16:9 all the way to 4:3. If you're a console player, you can't do this. So unfortunately, this tip is just for my PC players. Now, the reason that people play on 4:3, or very rarely if they're an ACOG player, play on 16:10, is because 4:3 stretches your game like this. The reason this is a good thing is because if people are wider on your screen, it makes it a lot easier for you to see them, which in turn can make it easier for you to hit them. Because it stretches your screen out horizontally, it also makes it to where when you're looking in through a scope, the scope appears to be wider, which allows you to have a clearer and bigger sight picture than you did before. As you can see, aiming in with a 1x scope from very far away is pretty difficult to see anything. However, if you go to options, go to display, and turn your aspect ratio to 4:3, your 1x scope is a lot wider, and so are the enemies, making it a lot easier for you to see them and hit them in the head. Now, I will say because they are bigger on your screen, they're going to appear to move faster, so you do need to have at least some good reaction time to be able to use this. But as long as you have good, But as long as you have good reaction time, you should be completely fine. Especially on defense where not every defender gets access to the 2.5 times scope. You're going to be playing a lot of people with 1x scope, so having a stretch 1x scope that kind of honestly looks like an ACOG because you're using 4.3 can make playing 1x scopes feel a lot better. You're going to have to get used to the game looking a little bit weird for a while, but once you get past that, and you've played this for a few months, you'll never honestly want to go back. But with that out of the way, that is it for today's video. My name's Alka. Check out this next video. I stream every single day on Twitch, and I hope I'll see you in the next one.